Hello, everyone, and welcome to the round 4 recap of Ontario Open 2026. After a very frustrating day on the second day of the tournament, where I played two of the longest games of the entire playing hall, like I was literally the last game finishing in both of the rounds, and none of those games went the way I wanted it to go. In the first one, as you guys saw in the previous recaps, I got grinded down in a very long end game, and the second one where I was trying to grind my opponent down in a rook and bishop versus rook end game, he managed to hold and the game ended in a draw. So coming into this game, I got a pretty tough pairing against woman international master Rachel Miller from Jamaica. I believe she lived in Canada for a very long time, especially in Ottawa, I believe. But these days she's mostly living and playing in the US. It was the first time meeting her and playing her in person. But yeah, it was a tough test because she started the tournament really well. She got a strong draw in round 2 against the FIDE Master, and she beat a national master of the black pieces in round 2. So going into this game, I was actually a little bit worried, especially given the fact that I wasn't super fresh coming into this day. But I actually decided, so I checked her games, and in the database I saw she always plays e4. And against Caro-Kann, she plays the exchange Caro. But this tournament, like the two white games she had before me, she played the English opening with 1c4. So I was like, let's actually rest, and whatever she does, I'm gonna play what I know the best. I'm not gonna prep anything new for this game. And I think it was the best decision I made, because even if I had prepared for like 2 or 3 hours, it would not have helped me in this game. So she played e4, which is her main repertoire. I played c6, d4, d5, and now she surprised me with a classical variation with knight c3. So this is something I believe I never saw her play in the database. But I was like, I'm just going to play what I know the best. D takes e4, knight takes e4. And I played knight f6, which is something that I'm recently starting to play more. Previously, bishop f5 has been my main, but I'm trying to diversify between the two. So for this game, I played knight f6. Knight takes f6, e takes f6. And now the main line is c3. So as you guys know, the main line goes c3. I develop my bishop. They develop their bishop. I castle. Queen c2, hitting my pawn. I give a check. Knight e2. And now very important move, pawn to h5, which is a very modern, trendy way of playing this. Previously, this line was considered to be a little bit dubious, because against g6 and h6, white gets some sort of a strong attack on this side of the board. But with h5, castles, h4, or like bring the knight here, you kind of defend your king with these 4 pawns. Anyways, she played a very rare line, bishop to e3. And this was the first surprise of the game. So I've briefly checked this line for another game around a couple of months ago. And I knew for a fact that the top engine move is to play queen b6, attacking the pawn on b2. But after queen b6, white goes queen e2. Very nice move. And if I take on b2, there's going to be bishop c1 check. Discovered check to win my queen. So I can't really take the pawn. I gotta develop my bishop. And now white gets to go along castle. And this becomes a very interesting position. But I thought during the game that my opponent is probably well prepared here coming into this game, because I'm a Caro-Kann player. So she probably knew that she's going to get a position like this. So therefore, I decided to play something more positional. I played bishop d6, bishop d3, and now I played a very interesting move, knight to a6. So the idea with knight a6 is my knight is coming either to b4 to harass the bishop, or it's going to go to c7 to cover the d5 square alongside the other pieces. And I know for a fact, like I vaguely remember that if a3, the best move is to play bishop f5. White is still slightly better, but the whole idea of bishop f5 is to trade these light squared bishops. Because if we don't trade the light squared bishops, there's going to be some sort of trouble on this side of the board. I guess bishop 1 d3 is a very good bishop. And the whole point of bishop f5 is that if she takes, I'm going to go queen a5 check and win the bishop back. And note that you might think, why not take on a6 to compromise black's pawn structure? The thing is, after bishop takes a6, I have queen a5 check again. So I will win the bishop pair without messing up my pawn structure, and it's great for me. I believe the most interesting line for white here is to go c3, so that they avoid knight b4, and at the same time they avoid bishop f5, because now there's no more checks on a5. So in this line, I just drop my knight back, I castle, and play normal chess, planning to go some knight d5 at some point. And now white plays c4. So white basically wastes one tempo, playing c3 first and then c4, just to avoid trading the light squared bishops. And I feel like this is maybe a little bit more dangerous for me with some attack on this side of the board. Anyways, Rachel played c4. And here's the moment where I played bishop f5, which wasn't great. I think the best move that I should have played was knight b4. I considered it in a game, but the thing is, after bishop b1, I don't have a bishop f5 move anymore, first of all, because after takes queen a5, there's no check. And after bishop e6, queen c1, which is the main way the game will probably go, I have an insane idea, which I didn't know before the game, but now I know, and that is to play b5. So all of a sudden, my opponent is in a little bit of a trouble. If they take on b5, I'm just going to take with a rook coming to c8 and this pawn blockaded on d4. Black is doing great. And the best move for white is to go a3, kicking my knight away. But now I sacrifice my knight on b4, like this. And there are some crazy lines. Like the best move is king d1, I go c5 with a very unclear position. But if bishop d2, which looks more human, I just castle, sacrifice my bishop, and this is going to be a crushing attack with king coming here and queen takes on d4. But obviously, like the line can still go on with something like this. Queen takes g2 coming, this king is weak, and even though I'm down 2 pieces, for 4 pawns by the way, black is completely winning here. But yeah, king d1, c5 would have been an insane position which no one knows what's going on. Engine gives zeros, but in a practical game, this is a 3-result game for sure. And I actually prefer black. It's hard to play for white in these sorts of positions. In any case, I played bishop f5, and now she goes knight e2. So she correctly delays capturing my bishop, because that will help my queen to a very good square. So knight e2 was played, and now I defend my bishop with queen d7. Castles, castles, rook e1. And yeah, we're just playing normal moves at this point. And here's a very interesting moment. So in the game, I decided I was debating between knight b4 and rook f e8. So on knight b4, I saw that she goes bishop b1 for sure, because if takes queen f5, there are threats here that are very annoying to deal with. Bishop b1, and now rook f e8. And now she's going to kick my knight with a3. And now I'm going to go here. So I was trying to compare this position with this position. So I was like, is the inclusion of a3 and bishop b1 helpful for my opponent or not? And it turns out there's not that big of a difference. But in the game, I thought that a3 doesn't help that much, because she's never going to go really b4, because then I might go b5 and like carve out this d5 square for myself. So I wasn't sure a3 is a very helpful move. I thought the bishop is worse placed on b1 compared to d3. So that's why I went for this. But yeah, again, it's not that big of a difference, I think. So Rachel traded and played queen b3. Very interesting move, attacking my pawn on b7. So already around here, I was feeling like I don't like my position that much. I have these double pawns on this side of the board, so if you ever get to an endgame, I'm never going to create a pass pawn with this majority, while my opponent's majority is more mobile, and she can always like advance d5 or c5 or something like this at the right moment. And here I made a slight inaccuracy. It's a very slight inaccuracy. I play rook a b8. I think this is not the best because it weakens this a7 pawn, and in some lines it was really annoying to deal with. Like whenever white goes d5, which she will at some point, bishop takes a7 is always a dangerous threat to deal with. So for instance, even here against d5, so here against d5 I can go knight c5. That's what I saw. But she plays rook a d1, preparing d5 now with the rook here. So I go knight c7 to stop it. And now I thought d5 is interesting, because now the a7 pawn is hanging. So if I go c5, I will give her a very nice protected passer on d5. And if I take, then bishop takes a7. And if I move the rook, then b7 also hangs. So I can take and go here and play this position. But I think... wait, this bishop is hanging. What is going on? Yeah, knight b5. Okay, there are some tactics to save me, but it looks a little bit messy to play this position. So I was a little bit worried of d5 in this position. And I thought even maybe I have to go c5. I was planning to calculate a little bit more. But she plays queen d3. So I could trade the queens here, which is probably maybe objectively the best move. But I thought I'm never going to win that position. I'm just going to be there defending a worse endgame, which is very frustrating. So I dropped the queen back. And now she plays knight c3. Again, like, I feel like she's playing a little bit slowly. She could have gone d5 here as well. Again, c5 gives her a very nice protected passer. And if I take, there's bishop takes a7. You see again the problem with this a7 pawn. And after rook b d8, c takes d5. Computer thinks after bishop e5, black has around enough compensation, just a little better for white. But I was really worried about that. I'm down a pawn, and it feels like I'm down 2 pawns because of the pawn structure. Like my extra pawn here doesn't really count just yet. So I was really worried to go into this line. I was thinking maybe I even have to go c5 again. In any case, like I was thinking about ideas like c5 before knight a6 and playing a position like this, which looks very awkward. In any case, Rachel plays knight c3, and now I play rook b d8, improving my rook to the d file and also making sure that bishop takes a7 doesn't come with tempo at least. And now she plays queen c2, which I didn't really understand initially. I don't know what she was really worried about with a queen here. It makes sense to open up the rook for a future d5 idea, but I think this is a little bit too slow. So I played f5, and all of a sudden I'm starting to make some threats. Like f5, I'm threatening to go f4 and kick this bishop away. But now she plays d5, and now, again, a7 pawn is hanging. It's a little bit annoying. And here I made a mistake. Here I made a big mistake by playing c5. It's a big positional mistake, but I think it stems from the fact that I knew this position is worse for me, but I also didn't want to liquidate everything. Because if I take on d5, she's gonna take with a knight. So first of all, if cd5, knight b5, I knew this is good. I was happy to play this position. Even though, again, like, there are problems with the a7 pawn that I gotta solve. Like, after takes, I can trade and take on d5. But again, like, these endgames, I feel like it's very hard to play for the win. But after knight takes d5, knight takes d5, rook takes d5, this is what scared me during the game. Like, now my f5 pawn is hanging, and c5 ideas are coming. Obviously not right now because of the tactics, but the position seems a little unpleasant with everything hanging here. But I have this very nice move, queen c7, hitting the pawn on h2. And if she pushes, then I can check and win a rook. So I'm basically threatening the pawn on h2 and also the rook on d5 with this pin. So maybe she can just take and play something like this. But it provides enough imbalance maybe to play on. But again, still I would say this is pretty much drawish. In any case, I played d5. I played c5 to keep more pieces on, but this is actually not so great. So she plays queen d2, completely stopping my f4 ideas. And now after b5, she simply goes b3. And all of a sudden I was like, what is this position? I don't like it. It's getting a little bit suffocating. All my pieces are in the recycling bin. Like, look at this queen, look at this rook, look at this knight. Like, they're not doing anything. So here is where I was starting to feel the heat. I was like, oh my god, I might even lose this game. So I played rook b8. Another idea that I considered during the game, which computer likes the most, is to take and play knight a8, to go knight b6 and try to put some pressure on the c4 pawn. But I was hoping maybe after rook b8, bishop f4 takes, I can somehow get this knight to d6. If I can somehow get this knight to d6, that'll be amazing, because it defends f5, it blocks the protected passer, and also attacks the c4 pawn, which is the root of this pawn chain. This is what basically Jason Liang did against me in our game in round 2. So I was hoping to get something similar, but after rook e d8, she was smart. She didn't let me go knight e8 and then trade and go knight d6. She took, and after queen takes, now rook e2. So here we have this position. I'm like, oh my god, how am I going to even win this? Like, I'm literally, looks as though I'm down a pawn. I'm down a clean pawn. Like, yes, I have this pawn on f5, but is it really helpful? So I played rook b3, trying to create some threats against the a3 pawn. And now she plays rook de1. Very interesting move. And here I have some back rank issues. The problem is if I take on a3, this is going to be a huge blunder after knight b5, creating the fork. And if I take, then I'm going to get checkmated on the back rank, or at least lose a queen. So I played h6, creating some space for my king. And now she goes a4. So in this position, I made an inaccuracy with a6. It's a little bit too slow. I wanted to stop knight b5, and I was hoping for a very devilish trap in this position. I thought with her doubling the rooks, maybe one of her ideas is to play rook e7. And I was hoping she does that so I can play a very nice move. You guys can pause the video and find it. Knight to e6. Cutting the connection of these two rooks. And also utilizing this pin on the d file so that when the rook goes away, I can put this knight on d4, and all of a sudden the tables have turned. And as one of my students always says, the turns have tabled here, and the knight is going to come to d4. But yeah, so I played a6, making sure that there's no knight b5 ideas, so I can meet rook e7 with knight e6. The problem with this move, though, is that she goes queen c2, attacking my rook and the pawn on f5. So I played rook b4, thinking, okay, if she takes, I'm going to take. It's not problematic. But when I played this move, I realized, oh my god, she has this very nice move, knight to a2, hitting my rook, guarding both pawns, and once the rook leaves, now take on f5. And now I'm well and truly lost, because I'm down a clean pawn, and I should hope for a miracle just to save the game. But sometimes backward knight moves are not easy to find in a real game. And I think she went for a very forcing sequence, which I don't think was a good practical decision in any case. Even if it works, like usually in a position like this where you have full control, you don't want to go for something crazy if you're not 100% sure. So she played queen takes f5. Giving up the c4 pawn, all of a sudden, there's a weakness. My knight might come into the game, the knight that was in the recycling bin. But her plan was to go rook e7, threaten mate on f7, and now after rook f8, go rook d7. So maybe she was thinking she can crush me here on this side of the board. But I played queen b6. Again, like, it's not the top engine move, but I think it's a very good practical decision. So computer likes g6, and just playing this endgame, which is slightly better for white because of a better kingside structure, but it should probably end in a draw. It's pretty much equal. But again, I'm the one who needs to be careful. White is more active, has better structure, so, and this d-pawn might be a little bit dangerous, so I gotta be really careful here. But in the game, I saw that she already has like 6 minutes, so I don't want to trade queens. So I decided to go queen b6, and I calculated that after d6, knight e6, initially it looks like after rook takes c6, I'm just losing material with a rook on c4. But I saw that after rook takes c6, which she played in the game, I can just take on c3. And now I'm threatening the rook and threatening to checkmate in the back rank. It would have been cool if I had queen b1 check, knight takes b1, rook c1 mate, but the queen is guarding the b1 square, so that doesn't work. But what she should have done here, which is insanely difficult to find with 3 minutes on the clock, is to go knight d5. So this move by itself is not difficult, but after queen a5, attacking this rook on e1, it's not so clear how white is going to make progress. If you tuck in the rook, I can always take these pawns at some point. I can even come in with queen d2, which is what I probably would have done, and try to pile up the pressure on the d6 pawn. And the best move here is to go king f1, guard the rook, and after queen d2, the only winning move is to go g3, because my idea was to go rook c1 and get rid of the rook. So my idea is here, takes, king e2, knight d4, winning the queen. So as you can see, it's already like a position where white needs to find many difficult moves, like knight d5, king f1, g3 sequence is not easy to find with 3 minutes on the clock. In any case, Rachel took on e6, I take on c3, and now the rook is hanging, the back rank mate is coming, and she goes rook e1. And now I play the best move, queen to c6. And this is the first moment I was starting to feel confident that I'm going to win this game. But here's the problem, like, the rook on d7 is hanging. It's not hanging completely, but the thing is I'm going to go g6 and kick this queen away. The queen is guarding it, but the queen is not on a stable square. If the rook ever moves, I'm going to take the pawn, I'm going to be up a pawn, and I'm going to get rid of the most dangerous piece that my opponent has, this pawn on d6. And also the pawn on a4 is hanging. So all of a sudden, she's in a little bit of a trouble. g6 is coming, queen a4 is coming, and the rook can't move. This rook can't come to defend because of the back rank. But in fact, Engine says that after rook a7 takes g3, this is an equal position, it's zeros, because white has so much activity with the rooks to be able to maybe force a pawn back and just hold the game. But again, like playing this position with 1 minute left on the clock and having to play with initiative, having to prove something is not an easy decision to make. So Rachel played rook d1, and her idea is to guard this pawn on d6 and then try to one thing I was thinking about was to play g6, of course, but then I saw she has this move. And after it takes, now she can take on c3 and have this pawn on d6 guarded. Very important. So the problem with rook d1 though, which is a blunder, is that I simply take on a4 and hit this rook again. Now the rook can't come up because of the mate, so the rook has to go back, and now I play g6. So all of a sudden, the rook on d7 is hanging, and there's no squares for the queen. g4 is guarded, h3 is guarded, so she needs to give up the rook, and now I simply take on d6, and I'm up 2 clean extra pawns in this position, with my opponent down to 1 minute, so this should be a pretty routine win. So Rachel tried to complicate the matters, she played h4, and now I play queen d4, making sure that I have a very nice control over this diagonal. I was sure that if she goes for an endgame, even though I might lose a pawn, it's not that big of a deal, because I have this rook behind the pawn, the rook is stuck on a2, and if she goes all the way to win this a3 pawn, I will have time to clean up the pawns on this side of the board. So she played queen g3, trying to go h5, but now I simply go h5, rook e5 was played, threatening to take on h5, but I simply ignored it with c4. The point is, if rook takes h5, I give a check and win the rook. So she plays king h2 first, I go c3, and now she goes rook takes h5, but now it's simply too slow because I go c2 and I'm threatening to promote my pawn on c1. I thought she's gonna go queen g5 to stop it, but then after rook c8, there's no way to stop the pawn from promoting. If the queen goes back, I just take the rook. So she decided to go crazy with rook g5. I promoted to the second queen. Rook takes g6, f takes g6, queen takes g6, but this is never going to be a perpetual check. Like I go queen g7, queen e6 check, and after king h8, there's no more checks left, and I'm up a queen and a rook. So in this position, my opponent resigned, and I got a very precious win with the black pieces. It's always so enjoyable to win games with the black pieces. It's very difficult at this level. In the top sections of these Canadian tournaments to win games with the black pieces. So when you do, it's always very enjoyable. I think I got a little bit lucky with some parts of this game. But overall, I think it was a pretty good game from Rachel. She was putting up a lot of pressure on me. I got outplayed for some portions of the game, but in time pressure, she wasn't able to navigate the position well. And I think the biggest mistake from her side is just queen takes f5. Even though it's not a losing blunder and white is still better, I think practically speaking, with 5 minutes on the clock, you shouldn't go for a concrete line with a lot of tactics flying over the board. If knight a2 and just queen takes f5 next, I don't think I have any counterplay, and I probably would have lost this game. So I got a little bit lucky here, but a win is a win. I was very happy with it, and I will go on to the next round where I will get the white pieces against an international master again. So another chance for me, and I will analyze that game in the next video. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Make sure to let me know your comments about this game in the comments section down below, and subscribe to the channel. Have a good one, guys, and see you soon. Goodbye.